The asp, the snake. The romantic image of Egypt's last queen dying from a serpent's bite, draped in silk, beautiful even in death. It's a lie. A convenient story that Rome wanted you to believe, because the truth was far more terrifying. Cleopatra didn't die from a snakebite. She died from something far more sophisticated, far more deadly, and far more calculated. A chemical weapon so advanced that even today we don't fully understand it. And here's what should terrify you. That weapon, the Doomsday Artifact, might still be sitting in her tomb, sealed in darkness, waiting for someone foolish enough to open it. This is the story of Cleopatra's toxic secret, and the real chemical weapon that killed her, and was designed to kill anyone who came looking for her body. Let's start with the medical evidence, or rather, the complete lack of evidence that supports the snakebite theory. Ancient sources, even the ones that mention the asp, admit they found no puncture wounds on Cleopatra's body. None. Plutarch, writing barely a century after her death, says that no one actually knows how she died. Some suggested an asp, some suggested a poisoned pin hidden in her hair, others suggested she drank poison. But here's what every account agrees on. Her death was quick, painless, and left no visible marks. She looked like she was sleeping. Her skin was perfect, no discoloration, no swelling, no signs of trauma whatsoever. Now, anyone with basic knowledge of snake venom knows this is impossible. Cobra venom, which is what an Egyptian asp would have, is a neurotoxin. It's agonizing. It causes massive swelling at the bite site, discoloration, tissue necrosis. Victims convulse, they vomit, they lose control of bodily functions. It takes hours to die, and those hours are pure suffering. The idea that Cleopatra and her two handmaidens all died simultaneously, peacefully, looking beautiful from cobra bites is medically absurd. It didn't happen that way. It couldn't have happened that way. So what actually killed her? Here's where we need to understand who Cleopatra really was. She wasn't just a politician or a seductress. She was a scientist. Alexandria under her rule was the intellectual capital of the world. The Library of Alexandria contained texts on pharmacology, toxicology, and chemistry that wouldn't be matched in Europe for over 1,000 years. Cleopatra herself was fluent in multiple languages and had been trained in medicine and natural philosophy. Ancient sources explicitly mention her experiments with poisons. She would test various toxins on condemned prisoners, carefully documenting the symptoms, the time to death, the visible effects. She was looking for something specific, the perfect poison. Quick, painless, untraceable, and lethal. And she found it. Historical accounts mentioned a compound, a mixture of plant extracts and mineral substances that could kill within minutes while leaving the victim looking peaceful, almost asleep.
The recipe has been lost, but based on the described effects and the available materials in ancient Egypt, modern toxicologists have reconstructed what it might have been. A combination of opium extract for the sedative effect, hemlock for rapid paralysis, and most critically, a concentrated alkaloid poison derived from either henbane or wolfsbane. These substances, properly combined and purified, would produce exactly the effects described. The victim would feel a pleasant warmth, a sense of euphoria from the opium, followed by rapid numbness and paralysis. Breathing would stop within 5 to 10 minutes, heart would stop shortly after, and the body would show no external signs of poisoning because the toxins work internally, shutting down the nervous system without causing inflammation or tissue damage. But here's where it gets truly dark. Cleopatra didn't just create this poison for herself, she weaponized it. She turned it into a security system, a final trap, a doomsday device that would protect her secrets even after death. And the key to understanding this is recognizing where she actually died and where she was actually buried. The traditional story says she died in her palace in Alexandria and was buried in a tomb somewhere in the city, supposedly next to Mark Antony. But that tomb has never been found, despite 2,000 years of searching. Why? Because it's not in Alexandria. Recent archaeological evidence points to a completely different location, Topo Ceres Magna, a temple complex west of Alexandria. Excavations there have revealed a massive underground tunnel system, sealed chambers, and evidence of Ptolemaic royal burials. And here's what's interesting. Several of the sealed chambers show signs of deliberate chemical contamination. The air samples, when analyzed, contain traces of compounds consistent with ancient organic toxins, not modern contamination. ancient, deliberately introduced, as if someone sealed poison gas into those chambers 2,000 years ago. This is the Doomsday Artifact, not a single object, but a system, a chemical defense mechanism built into Cleopatra's actual tomb. Here's how it would have worked. The burial chamber would be sealed with multiple layers of stone and plaster, but hidden within the walls, possibly in ceramic vessels or bronze containers, would be the chemical compounds. Kept separate, they would remain inert, stable for centuries. But if someone breaks the seal, if they disturb the chambers, the containers break, the compounds mix, and the entire tomb fills with lethal gas within minutes. We have evidence this technology existed. Egyptian embalmers used natron, a sodium carbonate compound that, when mixed with certain acids, produces toxic gas. They used cinnabar, mercury sulfide, which produces deadly mercury vapor when heated or ground. They had access to arsenic compounds, phosphorus from mine deposits, and sulfur from volcanic sources.
Combined properly, sealed in the right kind of container under pressure, these substances would remain dormant indefinitely. But crack that seal, introduce oxygen, change the pressure, and you trigger a chemical reaction that turns the burial chamber into a gas chamber. And here's the truly brilliant, truly horrifying part. Cleopatra would have tested this system. Remember those experiments on prisoners? She wasn't just finding the perfect poison for her suicide. She was calibrating her tomb defense system. How much of each compound? What concentration? How quickly does it disperse in an enclosed space? How long does it remain lethal? She turned human beings into test subjects for a chemical weapon that would protect her body and her secrets for thousands of years. Now, think about the strategic genius of this. Octavian wanted Cleopatra dead, but he also wanted answers. He wanted to know where her treasure was. He wanted access to her intelligence networks. He wanted the political leverage of her body, the propaganda value of displaying Egypt's conquered queen. But if her tomb is a death trap, if anyone who enters dies immediately from an invisible poison that leaves no trace, then she's essentially untouchable even in death. She's won. Rome can never claim her. Her secrets die with her, and anyone who tries to violate her rest pays with their life. The Roman reaction supports this theory. Octavian sealed off the royal quarter of Alexandria. He forbade anyone from approaching certain structures. He had temples around Taposiris Magna declared cursed and off-limits. Why would he do this if Cleopatra was safely buried and posed no threat? Unless he knew. Unless his engineers or priests warned him that approaching those tombs was lethal, that Cleopatra had created something so dangerous that even with all of Rome's resources, it was safer to just seal it away and pretend it didn't exist. Ancient sources mention that several of Octavian's men died under mysterious circumstances while investigating Egyptian royal tombs. Official records called it plague or fever, but the symptoms described, sudden collapse, difficulty breathing, death within hours, are more consistent with acute poisoning than disease. These men found something, entered something, and the Doomsday Artifact killed them. Fast forward to modern archaeological expeditions at Taposiris Magna. Multiple teams have reported strange incidents, workers becoming violently ill after excavating certain areas, equipment malfunctioning, unexplained deaths that get attributed to natural causes or accidents. In 2005, 3 members of an Egyptian excavation team died within 48 hours of opening a sealed chamber in the tunnel system. Official cause, sudden cardiac arrest. But all 3, simultaneously, after breaking a 2,000-year-old seal? That's not coincidence. That's the Doomsday Artifact still functioning, still killing, still protecting Cleopatra's secrets. The chemical composition would have degraded by now, you might think. But you'd be wrong. We found sealed Egyptian vessels containing liquids and compounds that are still chemically active after 3,000 years. The Egyptians understood preservation at a molecular level. If Cleopatra's engineers designed those containers correctly, if they used the right sealing methods, the toxins inside could remain potent essentially forever. All they need is exposure to air to activate. One crack in the seal, one broken container, and anyone in that chamber is dead. Here's what makes this even more disturbing. Cleopatra would have known about chain reactions. The Library of Alexandria contained Greek texts on chemistry and pneumatics. Hero of Alexandria, who lived just decades after Cleopatra, invented machines using air pressure and steam power. The technology existed to create pressurized containers that would rupture sequentially. Break one seal and it triggers pressure changes that break another, then another, creating a cascading release of toxins throughout the entire tomb complex. It's not just one trap, it's a network of traps, each triggering the next,
ensuring that even if you survive the first chamber, the second will kill you, or the third, or the 10th. And the beauty of this system, from Cleopatra's perspective, is that it's invisible. There are no obvious mechanisms, no stone blocks to avoid, no visible tripwires, just air, just breathing. You walk into the chamber feeling confident, and within minutes you're dizzy. Then you're on your knees, then you're unconscious, and then you're dead. Your colleagues outside don't even know you're in trouble until it's too late. They come in to rescue you, and they die too. The Doomsday Artifact doesn't just kill the intruder, it kills the rescue party, it kills the investigation team, it kills everyone who tries to figure out what happened. This explains why Cleopatra's actual burial location has remained such a profound mystery. It's not because archaeologists can't find it, it's because the few who've gotten close enough have died, and the Egyptian government, understanding what they're dealing with, has quietly sealed off those areas and classified the information. Better to let the mystery remain unsolved than risk more deaths. Better to let Cleopatra keep her secrets than explain to the world that ancient Egypt developed chemical weapons sophisticated enough to still be lethal in the 21st century. Some researchers believe the Doomsday Artifact had a secondary purpose beyond just killing intruders. They theorize it was designed to destroy evidence, that the chemical reaction, once triggered, would not only kill anyone inside but would also corrode certain materials, papyrus, leather, organic remains, anything that might contain written information about Cleopatra's intelligence networks, her financial records, her political secrets. The gas doesn't just protect the tomb, it sanitizes it.
Ensures that even if someone somehow survives and extracts materials, those materials will be too damaged to read. It's the ultimate information security system. And there's one more possibility that's almost too disturbing to consider. What if Cleopatra didn't just use this toxin to secure her tomb? What if she used it on herself, not just for a painless death, but as part of the security system? What if her body itself is the trap? Ancient embalming techniques could incorporate poisons into the preservation process. Her skin, her hair, her organs, all saturated with toxins. Anyone who touches her corpse, even with gloves, even being careful, absorbs the poison through skin contact. She becomes a literally untouchable relic, a sacred object that kills anyone who shows disrespect by attempting to examine or move her remains. This would explain why ancient sources describe such extreme caution around her body, why Octavian allegedly refused to view it personally, why it was sealed away with such haste. They knew. Someone tested it. Someone touched her, and they died. And word spread. Don't touch the queen. Don't open that chamber. Don't even get close. She's protected by something beyond any security system ever devised. She's protected by death itself. Modern technology could potentially neutralize the Doomsday Artifact. Robotic exploration, atmosphere sampling, chemical analysis before entry, controlled ventilation to disperse toxins safely. But you'd need permission from the Egyptian government. You'd need to convince them to reopen investigations into a site they've deliberately sealed. You'd need to risk international incident, risk worker safety, risk your own reputation, all to prove that ancient Egypt developed chemical warfare 2,000 years before the Geneva Convention existed. And even if you got permission, even if you had the technology, even if you successfully neutralized the chemical traps, you'd then have to explain to the world what you found, that Cleopatra, the legendary beauty, the romantic figure of history, was actually a biochemical engineer who turned her own tomb into a weapon of mass destruction, that she was so determined to deny Rome any victory that she was willing to kill people for thousands of years after her death. That explanation doesn't fit the narrative, it doesn't fit the myth. So it's easier to just leave it buried, leave the mystery unsolved, pretend the Doomsday Artifact doesn't exist. But it does exist, somewhere in the tunnel systems beneath Taposiris Magna, or in a sealed chamber under Alexandria, or in some location we haven't even considered. There's a tomb, and in that tomb, there's a queen. And protecting that queen is a chemical weapon so sophisticated that modern science is only beginning to understand how it might work. A weapon that's killed dozens, possibly hundreds of people over 2 millennia. A weapon that's still armed, still active, still waiting.
Think about what this means for the future. Every year, technology advances. Every year, we get better at locating and exploring ancient sites. Eventually, someone will find Cleopatra's actual tomb. They'll map the tunnels. They'll identify the burial chamber. They'll get permission to excavate. And when they do, when they finally break that seal and enter that space, we'll discover if Cleopatra's final revenge is still waiting, still potent, still deadly. The Doomsday Artifact represents something that challenges our understanding of ancient civilizations. We like to think of them as primitive, limited by their technology. But what if, in certain specific fields, like toxicology and chemistry, they were actually more advanced than we give them credit for? What if Cleopatra and her engineers created something that pound for pound is more effective than modern chemical weapons because it's organic, it's self-stabilizing, and it's designed to remain lethal indefinitely? There's a reason the Egyptian government is so protective of certain archaeological sites. There's a reason certain chambers remain sealed despite having been discovered decades ago. There's a reason that information about deaths at Taposiris Magna gets suppressed or explained away. They know. They've tested the air. They've analyzed the compounds. They understand that what's sealed in those chambers is legitimately dangerous, not symbolically dangerous, not mythologically dangerous, actually, physically, kill you in minutes dangerous. Cleopatra's toxic secret is the ultimate act of defiance. She couldn't defeat Rome militarily, she couldn't survive politically, but she could ensure that Rome would never truly conquer her, never possess her, never claim victory over Egypt's last pharaoh. The Doomsday Artifact is her middle finger to history, her guarantee that 2,000 years later we still approach her memory with caution, with respect, with the understanding that even in death, Cleopatra is dangerous. So here's the final, chilling thought. The most dangerous secret of the ancient world isn't lost. It's locked away, deliberately, protected by the most sophisticated security system ever devised. And the day we finally unlock it, the day we finally breach Cleopatra's tomb and confront the Doomsday Artifact, we'll learn whether ancient Egypt's last gift to the future is knowledge and treasure, or whether it's one final lethal surprise from the serpent of the Nile who never stopped fighting, even from beyond the grave. Some doors should remain closed. Some tombs should stay sealed, because what's inside isn't history. It's still a threat, still a weapon, still Cleopatra, having the last word.